voices, braces, and some really weird clothes. You're in middle school. Your mom or dad pulls you aside on a Sunday afternoon because you're about to have the talk. They're dreading it because they know the nature of the conversation, and you have heard horror stories at school about this. Hearts are racing, palms are sweaty, the conversation begins. The words come out all jumbled and nervous, just given the conversation and the topic. And the child walks away from the conversation horrified about what they just learned, never wanting to talk about it again, and barely looking their parents in the eye. Now, my story is a little different. I loved talking about puberty. It was my favorite thing. The books that your parents would give you, I wanted to read them every single night with my mom. And she probably thought that was strange and didn't want to do it with me, but we did it anyways because she knew I loved it. Now, my sister, on the other hand, was a little different and more like a normal child. She hated it. She hated talking about puberty, and the books that your parents would give you, she wanted nothing to do with those. She wanted to ignore that puberty was ever even happening. So my parents had two very different children they were trying to raise in this topic of puberty. And now this child is going to talk about sex. Oh, and if you weren't listening before, you probably are now because I said sex. So here we go. Your sexuality is this lifelong journey, starting at the womb all the way until you take your last breath on this planet. It's a continuous exploration of what your body was made for and then all the changes it goes through that you kind of start talking about at that puberty talk. One part of this journey that you begin to understand as you get older is the nature of the act of sex. It's this bonding act filled with risk, and yet it creates this beautiful and tri-dimensional experience that I am going to argue can be best understood and appreciated between only two people, especially in the context of a committed relationship. To start out, sex is bonding. Countless studies have shown that there are bonding mechanisms that are created during the act of sex. According to Dr. Daniel Amen, there are neurochemical changes that happen in your brain when two people come together during this act of sex. And in both men and women, these neurotransmitters are released in this process of limbic and emotional bonding. Scientifically, those are terms that one person and another person are coming together. It's a bonding connection that they are forming. These neurotransmitters allow two people to form attachments and bonds and associations with another person. There are literally chemical reactions happening in your brain as you are connecting with another person. And that's incredible. It's an incredible design that our bodies were made for. However, it's also what makes having sex with multiple people very dangerous because it's not what your brain was designed to do. The bonding chemicals in your brain are powerful for human development, which is why sex, something so intimate, is bonding. Humans are more powerful together and even more powerful in the midst of a committed relationship. Secondly, sex is risky. You're putting yourself out there on display to be hurt because of the vulnerable nature of the act of sex. Your body is naked, both literally and metaphorically, and that is terrifying. You're at your most vulnerable state as a human being, and your body craves the intimacy that sex gives. The Gottman Institute was founded by a married couple, and they studied thousands of relationships and marriages, from the conflicts to communication to sex and everything that goes in that. And they say something and have concluded a thing that we all know, but sometimes we only listen because a doctor said it's true. So here's what they say. The best sex is between two people who have a strong foundation of friendship. It seems simple, but it makes complete sense. They also say that good sex is interrelated with intimacy and friendship and conversations that create an emotional connection between two people. And because sex is a risk, it's better with trust And trust is built over time, not in one night. And the trust is developed over creating also a safe space with another person, a safe space to be yourself, not a fake person that you create just to get by. And so trust grows over time, and because of this, it lowers the risk that sex has. Finally, sex is only part. You maybe have heard me say this word earlier in my talk, TriDimensional. And best-selling author Chris Valentin from Reddington, California, describes sex in this way. It's not simply an act of your physical body, but it wraps your body and your soul and your spirit into one part together. It comes together in this act of sex. So not only in yourself, but also the person you're having sex with. Your bodies are coming together. They're intertwining. And furthermore, this part so deep inside of you, who you are, your personality, your soul, begins this process that Valentin describes as soul ties. Your soul and the soul of the other person are wrapping themselves together in this act of sex. It may seem strange and a little far out and weird, but just as your brain has chemicals that create bonding mechanisms in your body, it's what your soul is doing. It's what you as a person are doing because you crave connection and you crave intimacy. But breaking these bonds, sleeping with multiple people, having sex with countless people is like taking two pieces of wood and putting glue on both sides and sticking them together. And breaking these bonds is like ripping them apart. It's not clean, it's not pretty, it's messy. There are splinters in your hands. Parts of each one of the pieces of wood are on each other. It looks messy and it hurts and it's painful. That's because that's not what your body was created to do. It's created to be with one person. It's what your brain wants. It's what your soul craves. And this is done through a foundation, as I said before. It's done through friendship and trust and a safe place to be yourself, not only physically, but through all the parts of yourself. I can hear the comments now saying, oh no, you can have sex with multiple people. It's only a physical act of your body. And yes, if you want to reduce sex to a simply one-dimensional act, you can. But you're also reducing what the act of sex is capable of doing and what it's capable of being. Impersonal sex makes it look fun and makes it look easy. However, good sex is not easy. It takes time to do it well. A study was done that concluded it takes 25,000 hours to be an expert at something. So given the topic of sex, it's logical to say that you can only be an expert at sex with one person over your lifetime because of the amount of hours it takes to do it well. So to be an expert, you need to do it with one person. And that is an incredibly beautiful thing that we sometimes take advantage of and don't understand fully. People are complicated and complex, but they simply desire to be wanted and cared for. And this can be best done through one other person. Sex is about sharing an intimate experience with another human being, both in your physical body, but also in your emotions and in your soul. When it involves all three dimensions, when it's tri-dimensional, it's not easy and it's not quick, but it's better. Because sex is better when it involves the entirety of a person, your joys and your dreams and your hopes, also your shame and your fears and your anxiety, because they all need a safe and sacred place to be. So in the risk of sex, if we allow our full selves to be in this process with another person and with a strong foundation of trust and friendship, bonded with one other person, sex is better. Actually, it's the best it can be. Thank you.